Hi everyone. My last video showed me taking the transmission actually out from underneath the car, and I was going to go over some parts and things that I have purchased to complete this 4-speed swap. But as I was cleaning up some stuff, I was getting this old automatic transmission set up to get out of here. I said to myself, well, this would be a perfect opportunity to go over how to put the detent cable in. The detent cable is kind of a mystery to most people. I know a lot of car guys kind of know what it does. Transmission guys all know what it does. But the adjustment of the detent cable is detrimental because you'll destroy this transmission in no time if you don't have the cable adjusted properly. Basically, one end of it connects to the throttle valve, which is in the valve body, which is inside the transmission pan, and it has a little rod that goes down there. It is right here, that little guy right there. Putting this on in the car, depending on the car that you're doing it on and how much room you have, it can be a real pain in the butt. So I just figured while I had everything apart, I could show you guys how it goes together real easily. I'm not going to go too much into adjustment and all of that stuff, but basically what the detent cable does is it controls the line pressure in relation to the throttle position. Obviously, the harder you're on that throttle, the more line pressure you want. The more line pressure, the tighter the transmission will shift, the more crisp. It puts more pressure on the bands to, for those drums to hook up. I'm not going to get into all that either because that's really transmission stuff. And so that adjustment is detrimental. Getting the cable on is another story when you're laying underneath the car, the way most guys work. We don't all have lifts and everything else. So basically, this is a universal low car detent cable, because obviously a 66 GTO did not come with the cable. The GM one is different. The one you would find in a factory G-body car like a Regal or a Malibu or something like that would not be like this. It would be plastic. The end that goes up by the throttle has like a ratcheting, like a button you would push as you hold the throttle wide open, and blah blah blah. This one doesn't have it. It's a little more difficult to adjust this because you're supposed to use a line pressure gauge on it and adjust it. There's specs for it. I'm not sure what the specs are offhand. Line pressure, you would hook up your line pressure gauge. Well, basically an oil pressure gauge. You would hook up to there, and you would keep moving the cable around until you hit the specified pressure. So anyway, for all that to happen, it's all got to get connected down here. The only reason I'm hooking this back up right now is because I don't feel like searching around for 2 hours to try to find a plug that will fit inside there to keep this transmission from leaking. Yes, I drained the pan already, but the converter is draining back as we speak, and it's filling the pan back up, and it will just keep coming out forever, and I don't want to deal with it. So I figured I'd just put this stupid thing right back in here. So anyhow, I'll stop gabbing about that. Here is the hook. I'm going to try to get a good picture. It's just a little hook, just like that. And then this end here has a little tiny hole in it. Basically, I'm going to try to do this one-handed. Get in there, go in your home. Okay, so you see how it's in its home now. Watch what happens when you pull on. Right now, your throttle would be pretty much closed, and you would apply the gas. As you're applying throttle, this is pulling out. There's a lever in there that pushes or pulls on a throttle valve. I'm not sure which one this one is, but if it's pushing or pulling. So anyway, you basically you have slack at the other end. That's why I'm able to pull this cable so far out of the sleeve. Just like that. If I had two hands, it would be a lot easier, but I don't. See, that guy just goes right in there. You got two O-rings that are on this sleeve. You just kind of push it in there. There you go. This clamp goes on. This here 10mm bolt goes in here. Yep, I said 10 millimeter because this is a metric transmission, so everything is metric on it. Metric bolts. So once I get this tightened up, I'll snug it. You just got to snug it a little bit, you know, so it doesn't rattle back out, because this thing's already set all the way in the transmission. Those two O-rings will seal it. You don't really need much pressure on here, just a little, you know, like that. And then here's the other end. Ooh, great. Get this piece of crap out of here. Thank you. All right, so I'm gonna wrap this thing up, and I'm gonna put a little, you know, piece of wood or something like that across to hold the converter in so it doesn't fall out and spill fluid all over the place. And this transmission is going to meet its maker. So anyway, I just figured I would bore you guys with that information, and I will be back in a little bit. I just have to organize some stuff, and I'll go over all the parts that I have collected so far, and we'll start taking stuff apart and putting stuff back together. See you in a bit.